Very good morning to you. This is to say we are grateful to you for joining us here on Global Television and, of course, to welcome you to today's edition of Global Morning. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. So let's just say this is the morning after, and Priscilla is here. You were very pivotal, by the way. Priscilla, good to see you. Good morning. I was going to say happy weekend, but then it's a Thursday.
It's still a Thursday, but it's still Salah.
Yes, and it's still a public holiday,
it's
right?
It's a public holiday. So happy public holiday.
I wish you the same. I have a friend who left the country after high school to study further in England. So one time she shows up at my former workplace and we're talking about life and everything, experience over there, here. And then she says, in Nigeria, we say happy everything. Happy Sunday, happy this, happy.
Especially the Yoruba culture.
Right.
Just have a way of celebrating everything.
Everything.
Every single thing. So it's the aftermath of Children's Day yesterday, and I went to the internet and I wasn't quite happy because a lot of people were using that opportunity to pour out their minds. As much as we want to celebrate and mark, this special day,
right.
It's sad to know that there are children that are still held captive in the hands of kidnappers,
right.
even as we speak. And it gives a mixed feeling. You don't know whether to rejoice, you don't know whether to mourn, you don't know whether to be happy, you don't know whether to be sad. As much as we're looking for a reason to be happy, something just keeps reminding you that all is not well, and it's really sad. A lot of celebrities took that opportunity to, express themselves on their social media platforms yesterday. It was, an outpouring of emotions of all sorts, and it just made me, reflect a bit and
right.
just try to understand where we're at in Nigeria.
Maybe that's one thing we share at this point. So my way this morning, I saw a bit of a video by a certain Timi Agbaje, who happens to be a lawyer turned comedian, very active across social media platforms. But I basically engaged with him on LinkedIn. So I was watching one of those videos. But for the first time, this was radically different. This was not to make you laugh, but it was to make you be sober, reflective, and human all at the same time. Because again, he talked about how that there are two things from his childhood he can't forget. The first was this: some have food, they have some have and then the second is how that you come back to school after holiday, then you are asked to write an essay on how I spent my last holiday, and things like that. But he now tried to put it side by side the experience of other children who are now being held in chains in this kind of weather. For some of them, there's no guarantee they're coming back. For those who will ultimately return home, they are not coming back the same. No, for others, their lives will never remain the same. They've been altered, to put it very squarely, and things like that. So is it really possible for us to say we're having Children's Day as we have always known it without having to pay attention to this very disturbing trend?
It's sad. There's no how you want to look at it and not feel terrible about it. You just even want to feel guilty somehow for being a Nigerian and for not being able to help.
Being helpless.
You just help. We're all helpless at this point, and we're waiting for help that is not looking as if it's forthcoming. I don't know how we will. I don't know how we got here. There is no idea to how we will get out of here because everybody is silent. Right. Everybody is quiet. And you look at the internet and people that are supposed to be lending their voices to this very situation are being carried away, talking about irrelevancies, talking about, I know elections are important, but there are more important things. Right. Lives matter and it should be priority no matter what. So we are seeming to have lost humanity. That's what it's looking like. It's becoming old story, old news. Even if it happens today, we've heard it before. We move on too fast, too quick, and we look for the next, topic to just talk about. I don't know. I really don't know how to come. We will come out of it, but we have to come out of it. We will have to come out of it. We cannot keep, accepting this as a norm. We will never make it a norm. Right. Nigerians must continue to lend their voices until our leaders understand the gravity of the situation. We will bring it to their consciousness. Yes.
There's a lot of work to do. So when we say children are the leaders of tomorrow, they are the future leaders, it goes beyond mouthing, it goes beyond the rhetorics. We must be seeing investment in that direction. We must be seeing policies that are aligned with today's reality. We must be seeing a government that is responsible, a government that walks the talk, puts its mouth puts its money where its mouth is. That's what we want to see. But like you said, as is always the case, election has now overshadowed largely the concern about these children. And Oyo has just become more like a climax for all the wrong reasons right now.
Oyo Kwara, that's the head of the recent one, Kwara again. It used to be heard in another part of Nigeria. Now it's even going, to
becoming national concern.
Becoming a national concern. Well, we'll keep looking at it and talking about it until we did see a change.
Of course, we hope that happens as quickly as possible, and this is the reason you must have to play your own parts in our democratic process by ensuring that you have your PVC and that you also vote. We can't decide to stay aloof or stay away or be passive regarding the democratic process, and at the same time we complain. Yes, I know people would say, do the votes count? But the question is, what do you do? All right, because whether you like it or not, Nigeria is the country with which God has blessed us. So even if you move from here to any other part of the world, ultimately this is still your home. So if we keep complaining about Nigeria, it's like somebody saying, my children are obstinate, for example. What do? You disparent them. I don't know if that's the standard word. But what do you do really? You've got to fix it. It's your responsibility. You asked for them. You got blessed with them. So you have a responsibility fundamentally to deal with it. So what that means is that we've got to be sure we've done our part. You know, we must have done our part before we even have the moral basis or justification to call out those who are apparently not doing their part. Whether it is the Senate President who said on record that after election insecurity will come to an end, or is the president who appears to have one leg in 2027 and maybe half a leg dealing with insecurity, who must deal with all of that? Or is it the NSA himself who has been seen on a number of occasions not to be effectively doing his part? We've got to call these public officers to order because they are the employees, quote unquote, of Nigerians. They are paid with taxpayers' money, and we must see value for that. Yes, in the past we've heard calls regarding the sack of security chiefs. But the question is, beyond sacking them, how do we deal with the problems that have now apparently become systemic? That's a problem. You say remove Priscilla, put we. We remove Priscilla, we put we. The same problem is still there. So that shows you it's not about Priscilla. Neither is it about we. You've got to ask yourself, what is the structural problem that we have to address, we have to tackle? And we understand in the case of insecurity like we have in Nigeria, you need courage to do that. So the question is, do politicians in the saddle today have the balls?
I think the onus largely lies on our lawmakers because I really do feel like we have outdated laws or laws that are not relevant to today's time.
Or the ones we are not comfortable enough to enforce.
Exactly. Okay, we have those. Yes, there are those laws that are still relevant, but they are for a selected few.
Right.
Yeah, some people would cross the line, and somehow there are times that they are even publicly announced as offenders, but when no eyes is watching,
the whole thing dies
in natural death. So accountability is something that is lacking largely in Nigeria. Yes, we know that every single Nigerian has a responsibility, and I like the fact that you have reminded Nigerians that it is not by saying our elections will not count that we fix it. It makes it worse, as a matter of fact. So we must look at things or issues from how we can even, make it not to go bad or worse. Because I understand we want to fix it, and somehow it is not so much in our power to fix it. But what can you do? What you can do is not to keep quiet. What you can do is do what you can do. And then while we have done what we can do, we now wait for things to unfold and we take it up from there. Because you cannot call out a bad government that you have not tried in your own possible way to remove. You understand? There's something called democracy. It's by the people, for the people, right? The government students.
It's of the people,
of the people, by the people, for the people. So you are the people.
So that puts you right in the center.
Yes. you and I are the people, right? So if we say we want democracy, you have to be on the line. You have to be part of the people that will bring whoever wants to be in power to be in power, right? The moment you say, I am not interested, the moment you say it will not count, you are part of those people that are making it not to count. Because if an election wants to be rigged, it is largely rigged because people do not participate.
Right.
People, your eyes are not watching. You're not there to watch your votes count. You're not there to, stay at your polling unit and see them count, the number of votes that were casted. So you are already giving them room to misbehave. You're already giving them room to do the worst. So we start by being part of the process. It, in a large extent, would prevent it from going from bad to worse. And when we've been able to sort that, then we'll now talk about the outcome. We'll now start to protest if we need to protest. We start to, because it's part of the law, we have the right to speak against the ills of society. So when you have done your part, you now have the right to say, I no go agree. Do you understand? I will not agree with the outcome of this. Then and then only do you have that right. You can imagine people joining a queue to protest and you have not been part of the process. Right. It doesn't make sense. So I'm ultimately saying Nigerians do not give up at this point. Do not say it doesn't count or my vote will not count or our electoral system is not, in a good state. Let us start by lending our voices. Let us start by doing what we should know. Exercise your civic responsibility. Responsibility. You are a Nigerian and the responsibility of a Nigerian is to vote.
Right.
If you don't take responsibility, no one will take it for you. If you don't take responsibility, things will go from bad to worse. If you don't take your own responsibility, don't expect our leaders to be responsible. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think Priscilla deserves breakfast, quite frankly, because it takes a lot of depth to have these sort of conversation. But the talking will continue because whether we like it or not, all of these anomalies have got to be called out. We understand it's time for breakfast, and now we'll go take a look at what we have for you today.
What do we have?
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we are going to be preparing boiled plantain and egg sauce. For the boiled plantain, we'll be needing the following: ripe fresh plantain, knife and clean pot, water. Here is the process of preparing boiled plantain. Wash and cut or dice your fresh ripe plantain into few pieces. In a clean pot, add your diced and washed ripe plantains. Add water, salt and cover to cook for a few minutes. Drop and drain the water, and then after a few minutes peel the boiled plantain and set aside. For the egg sauce, we will be needing a few fresh pieces of raw eggs. In a clean bowl, break your raw eggs and whisk. Get your clean frying pan and add oil to fry. Add your pepper, mix and stir for a few minutes. Then add Maggi and other seasoning of your choice. Then stir and add corned beef. Optional. Also stir your already whisked eggs and finally add parsley and stir it. Our boiled plantain and egg sauce is ready. That's it on this episode of the show. I hope you will try this recipe at home. Join me again on Taste and Texture next time. I am Sadia Yakubu. See you again.
Supposed to be boiled plantain. When it's boiled, you call it boiling.
No, it can't be.
those-
I think it has to be smoked.
It has to be smoked to be
become
boiling,
boiling, right, yeah.
But for when it's boiled, you call it plantain. Okay, so that's boiled plantain and egg sauce. I used to like a lot of fries growing up. As a matter of fact, I was trained with fries. So you
So
fry
what changed?
everything, you fry plantain, fry this, fry. Up to now, I got married and my husband says frying is not good. I knew somehow, but I was already used to it.
Right.
Like, how can you boil plantain and eat,
So it has to be fried.
but they say it's healthier. So, as an adult, sometimes you have to eat, they say you have to eat your food as medicine.
Right.
So I don't eat medicine as food.
That's food.
Okay, so I'm trying to eat food as medicine. And it looks sumptuous,
does.
wonderful, and a good suggestion for breakfast.
For breakfast, right.
For those that are, the plantain is not in season at this moment, so you have to be boxed up.
So it's a bit more expensive now.
Yeah, it is a bit more expensive, but there are seasons that you eat it in surplus. Those are times to try this kind of food.
All right.
But
So I think that's a piece of advice you do not want to just shove aside, right? But we'll say thank you to the production team for that brilliance right there. Now we're going to join Ramsey Enoch Agbo. He's the man who brings us motivation, and beyond that, he gets our spirits lifted here on Heart to Heart Inspirational.
Hello and welcome to another moment of Heart to Heart Inspirational. Let's talk heart to heart a little bit, because a lot of people have not been able to bounce back after the last time they failed. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Welcome to Heart Inspirationals. Failure is a feedback and not a funeral. I want to say that again, because of people who failed. Some people fell and they remain on the ground. They never got up again because of what they feel people around them are going to say. But then failure is a feedback. And that's why some people tell you all the time that whatever happens, all right, there is a lecture from every lesson. Whatever happens to you in life, there is something that you are meant to learn from it, either positively or negative thing that you need to take cognizance of and be watchful as you move on the journey of life. So I just want to tell you today that failure is a feedback and not a funeral. What kind of feedback did you get from that last failure? Have you even tried anything at all? Have you experienced failure before? If you've not experienced failure before, it means you need to try harder, because on this journey of destiny, people who are successful today are people who have failed a number of times and they got up on their feet, learned from their mistake, and their mistake became a stepping stone for them, and of course they are where they are today. Why? Because they never allow that failure to become a funeral to their dream. What am I emphasizing? As a matter of fact, let's normalize something today, all right? Let's normalize something today. A failure, you've heard about it all the time. Okay, this person is a failure, that person is a failure. People assess their counterparts, their neighbors, their brothers, their colleagues differently with different perspectives. Some persons already have been tagged as failure, and that has been affecting a lot of people. But then, have you accepted that you are a failure? That somebody told you are a failure does not make you a failure until you accept that you are a failure. All right, not because it feels good, yeah, but because it is necessary. Sometimes, it's risk. It's risk. If you have taken a risk before, and of course, it didn't go well the way you think it was going to go, and you failed, it doesn't mean that is a funeral. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again. I was speaking with someone a few days ago, yeah, And we're talking about a particular business. And the young man told me, now I am successful. But then, during my wilderness experience, when I was in the workshop, nobody knew anything about me. When I was failing over and over and over again, I lost money several times. I had to stay indoors and think of the next thing to do. He failed severally until he said, no, I am not going to allow this failure become a funeral. My dream is not going to be cut short by this failure. And he stood on his ground. Consistency. I must always emphasize consistency anytime I come up to speak to anyone on heart to heart, because it is very important. If you want to succeed in life, then consistency and discipline is very important. But the bottom line is this: nobody ever succeeds without first stumbling. Yes, you stumble, then you stand again. Even every little child, before a child starts walking, you stand them up, you see them, they walk a little bit, they fall. They walk a little bit, they fall until their leg gets stable on the ground. All right? And you see them walking firmly. Then before you know it, they start running. The same thing is applicable to life. So failure, as a matter of fact, is not proof that you can't. All right? It's not a proof that you can't do it. It's proof that you tried. It's a proof that you tried. When you fail, it means you tried and you failed. It doesn't mean that's the end. It reveals what doesn't work and refine what eventually would work later. That's what failure does. Anytime you fail, you know that, yes, this one does not work. Let me try the other one. It gives you a focus. It makes you know that, yes, if I go this way, I'm going to fail again. So I need to do something else. It's only a fool that do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. If you are doing one thing the same way all the time, you get the same result. You need to apply technicality, strategy, discipline, excellence every time. Whatever you do, let that touch of excellence be in your head. All right? So that when you fail in one thing, you try doing it the other way. But then don't allow that first, second, third, fourth failure be your funeral. Let your dream and your vision and your talent not be buried because you failed. Because that failure is trying to refine you. It's trying to build something in you. What do you have to do? I want you to know that failure, what it does is that it reveals what doesn't work and refines what eventually will work. But you need to have this mentality. Every setback is information. If you are willing to learn, yes, that's what it means. Every setback that you've had in the past is an information. Because there is something you need to learn from every setback, from every failure. Everyone throwing stones at you right now is because they know you are going somewhere. Let me tell you the truth. We have a lot of friendly enemies these days. Some people are smiling with you, but then they are not interested in your success. What they say behind you, if you hear it, hey, but then that shouldn't deter you. That shouldn't deter you because you have a destination. So every setback is information if you are willing to learn, because most people don't fail because they are incapable. That you failed, it's not because you are incapable, but because you are going somewhere, because you are dogged, because you are rugged, because you are determined, because you are focused, because you have a dream, you have a vision, something you are pursuing and something you want to get. You have a target. So when people like that fail, they fail because they don't stop. But if you stop anytime soon, it means that failure has gotten to you. Let me give you an illustration, for instance. A GPS recalculates when you miss a turn. It doesn't shut down. All right? Failure, in other words, simply means it's time to adjust. Anytime you fail, the message is, no, I need to adjust. This principle, this procedure, this formula is not working. I need to adjust. There is something I need to do so that I don't fail again. That's what it means. Anytime you fail, there is a message. It is telling you it is time to adjust the procedure. It is time to re-strategize. That's what it means. All right, so you don't need to abandon your journey because you failed. There is a practical mindset shift that you need to have, and this is it. Number one, stop attaching shame to failure. Yes, stop attaching shame to failure. Some people, when they fail, they feel shy. Oh no, I'm not going to get on that stage again. They will laugh at me. No, I'm not going to do that business again. People will laugh at me. People will mock me. The same people will celebrate and want to identify with you if you are a success. So there should be a mindset and a mind shift for you. Extra lessons instead of self-criticism. Stop criticizing yourself because you failed. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people with other people because you failed. That you failed. Failure is not a funeral. Stop burying yourself in shame and criticism. Try again. Make it better. Make it wiser. Make it stronger. That's what it means. All right. Failure is tuition paid for future success. That is a quote that I'm bringing to you now. Failure, I said, is what? Is tuition paid for future success. But if you don't pay, if you go to school now, all right, 100 level, you need to pay a tuition. In 100 level, you get to 200, you pay another tuition before you can get to 300 level. In every of this level, there are tuitions to pay. If you want to change levels in life, don't be scared of failure. If you are scared of failure, you will never try anything good. So what you have to do? Keep pushing. Don't bury your dream because of one mistake that you made. I'll keep saying this. Learn, rise, and move forward. Don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about the situation around you. Don't think, oh, I have failed, I don't need to try it again. Keep trying. Change the strategy. Become wiser. Failure make you wiser. Because you walk through this way and you fail, you apply this strategy, this technique, this principle, this formula, and you failed. You will now need to re-strategize. Use another formula. All right? Until you get to your success. Until you get to what you want to achieve in life. All right? So you need to know that anytime you fail, it's a signal that you need to turn. You need to do something again. You need to re-strategize. You need to improvise. Come up with something new. As a matter of fact, failure is not the best option for you. So what you have to do? Try as much as possible. Right, to be sincere in everything that you do. Because if you want to please people, it will be disastrous. You don't need to please anyone, all right? You don't need to please anyone. It is when you're thinking about pleasing people that when you stumble, you say, oh, I've disappointed this person. I've disappointed even people who really love you, who want you to be successful. By the time you fail, instead of them condemning you, they will come and encourage you to do better. And that's the reason you need mentors. That's the reason you need people to talk to per time. All right? You need to talk to people. See, if you are embarking on a project, I emphasize mentorship all the time. I was speaking with a friend a few days ago and I told the person, if I want to do this thing you're doing now, it is going to be express for me. It's going to be easier. I may have hitches. There might be some times where you have losses or maybe failure at some point, but then you have people to ask questions. I have someone to ask questions. Hey, I got hooked here. What do I do? Even the disaster is not going to be as disastrous as it would have been if you never have anyone to guide you on this journey of destiny. You really need people, okay? Because as your association determine your acceleration in life, okay? And your friends, you need to be careful with the kind of friends you have. If you have a bad friend, it is disaster. If you have a good friend, it means you have a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to stand on and be tall so that you can get to that success that you are running after, that you are pursuing. Yes, congratulations, everyone. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anything stop you on the way. Not failure, not criticism. Don't bury yourself because you failed. Failure is not funeral. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful day.
Amazing inspiration to start your day. I'm sure that inspired you. We dive now to the newspaper review segment, and we're starting with the Daily Sun. First story beside the nameplate: 2027 Atiku woos Amechi higher today. Okay, this detail is on page 27. Next story: end anti-people policies. NLC tells federal government, president committed to easing Nigeria's hardship, and that is coming from the vice president, Shettima. Big story: Eid el-Kabir, Tinubu, Abdulsalami, Obi, Wike preach peace, tolerance, unity. A writer to that says, President prays in Lagos as Khan calls for compassion, advocates new approach to child school safety amidst insecurity concerns. Details on page 26, 27, and 28. Next story: APC tightens grip on NAS. The writer says, expands majority to 282 in reps as over 150 reps scores of senators defect in 3 years. Details on page 6. Rising rents outpace incomes in Abuja, Lagos as austerity worsens, and that detail is on page 2. President assures rescue of Oyo kidnapped victims soon. Details on page 6. Ezekwesili attacks federal government over non-rescue of kidnapped kids, accusing it of insensitivity. The detail is right there on page 8, and those are our headlines for the Daily Sun. Read up details to get yourself informed. Next point of call is the Punch newspaper.
All right, let's take that from the top right corner with a picture of President Tinubu there. It says, Tinubu confers record 1,062 national honors in 3 years on page number 10. Trump directive triggered anti-ISIS strikes in Nigeria. Hegseth, that's Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War in the U.S. On page 8 is where you find details. Capital projects get only 22% of federal government's 12 trillion naira loans. That's quite abysmal. On page 9, Okpadokun names Mark Lamido Wombodo among June 12 annulment signatories. Children's Day, captive Oyo, Borno pupils cast shadow over celebration. Of course, Priscilla and I took our time to talk about that extensively this morning, but then the headline has 3 riders with it. Tinubu Makinde reassure families as anxiety deepens over kidnapped pupils. Can NUT parents demand action on abducted pupils? Teachers threaten shutdown. Ogun should deploy Amotekun hunters in schools as fear spreads. And then we have 3 headlines further down, bottom writes, Omo Agege dumps APC after senatorial primary defeat. What does this point to? Is it the exit of some of the big personalities in the APC? Omo Agege, many persons had argued, is one of the leading forces in the APC in Delta, at least until he formally resigned yesterday. Of course, the governor of the state, Sharif Oborewori, is the leader of the party. But you have those who believe that he just came into the neighborhood, and as such, you show some respect to those who built from scratch. But we'll leave that within the purview of politicians. 2 Osun undergraduates killed in suspected court clash. On pages 4 and 5. Southwest on path to Northwest's insurgency crisis, retired general on page 3. And this is a prediction we should not take lightly because we see how the trajectory has been, excuse me, since 2009. This is 17 years down the line and it has not abated. Instead, we've seen a spread. All right, those are your headlines, all of them from the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. You know the drill. You've got to read up details across headlines for yourself. Next is the Daily Times newspaper.
Thank you very much. The Daily Times newspaper has its first story above the nameplate. 2 stories actually above the nameplate. The first one says, over 30,000 armed militants operate in Nigeria, U.S. agency report. Over 30,000 armed militants operate in Nigeria, U.S. agency report. Next story is a business story, and it says retail loans drops 4.15% as consumer credit hits 3.81 trillion naira. The Star story says is on Children's Day and says Tinubu raises hope, assures abducted children, families of rescue. Well, we hope this happens in no time because we cannot imagine the pain. Kano Rivers emerge best places to raise family in Nigeria. Kano Rivers, interesting. Are you sure you're not going to do some relocation? Because it's coming from a survey.
I think I'd like to stay where I am.
Okay, so why is Abuja not on that list? I don't know. We need to read up details though to get yourself informed with the facts backing this report. Those are about our headlines for the Daily Times. Next point of call is the Daily Trust.
All right, let's go there quickly. 3 headlines just beneath the nameplate. Top right, son who allegedly killed father over food lynched on page 13. One that's the say shall never end, but this is a very sad one, quite frankly. All right, telecom operators' customers spent 9 trillion naira on airtime in 2025. That's according to reports. Incidentally, that was the year during which we saw the 50% tariff increase on subscribers and the services that they use. Former Deputy Senate President Omo Agege quits APC. As expected, that's a story is replicated across dailies today. 13 days after, Borno Oyo pupils still in captivity. We understand a few days ago, the captors had reached out to open a discussion. Some people say, well, it's the government of Oyo State that is in touch with them, but whether or not the governor is directly or indirectly involved is a different kettle of fish. But then, if that speculation was anything to go by, there's no way the governor will not be involved, or at least be in the know. But we'll leave that again in the realm of speculation. NDC to ratify will be as 6 parties pick flag bearers. It turns out we don't have much of headlines on the front page of the Daily Trust today. However, that shouldn't be an excuse not to look up the details for yourself. Let's go take a look at headlines from the New Telegraph, and Priscilla has all of those headlines.
Thank you very much. The New Telegraph appears a bit scanty, but we'll read up. The first one says, Idil Kabir, Nigerians need hope, not empty promises. And that's coming from the Christian Association of Nigeria. Some writers to that says, hardship now measured in skipped meals, fear, collapsing businesses. Tinubu urges tolerance, generosity, unity among citizens. Abdusalami, Obi, governors, others felicitate Muslims. Details on page 3, 5, 7, and 26. Next story. Tinubu, has a kicker. Tinubu abducted Oyo Bruno pupils, teachers not forgotten, abandoned. Details on page 2, 4, 23, 26, 27. That's going to be a long read. Some writer said that says, please arrest 8 suspects. NUT declares indefinite strike. 30,000 armed Fulani men in Nigeria wreaking havoc. That's coming from a U.S. report. Indefinite strike. What would this mean for students that are about to write their WAEC, the junior WAEC, senior WAEC, examinations this season? Because I know that it may not affect, but students need to prepare. They need to be taught. They need to read and all of that. So I hope this doesn't leave. This is not using, this is not, I don't think this is a solution, if you ask me at this time. I know that.
So you're saying we're complicating the issue?
Yes, it's complicating the issue, as a matter of fact. Okay, next story. Equity market report affirms Nigeria's dominant status in Nigeria. Details on page 3. I don't know if I think I missed this. 2027, Atiku emerges ADC presidential candidate. Of course, what we expected. Everyone saw that coming.
So, some people say it's the owner of the party who took the tickets. But Amici says, no way, this was rigged. We understand that the other gentleman, the third horse in the race, so to speak, Ayatudin, is not buying this outcome as well.
When political figures come together, what do you come together for again? Especially when you are in the opposition. I honestly do not buy the ideas of having a primaries as an opposition again. Especially when you're coming from different parties. Right? So, first off, the conversation you guys should be having while you are doing your meetings and all this, this person is going to do this from heads on, like from the start. You don't come, with all your expectations, and then at the end of the day, you're having this unity along the way. No, I expected that from the onset. Atiku, Peter Obi, Amechi, Hayatuddin, all of them should have said, can we come together and present this person? On that note, opposition is stronger.
Right.
But when there's a primaries, and we're already hearing we're not going to accept results in a primaries, it sounds really hilarious. It's funny. Well, Nigerian politicians still have a long way to go, if you ask me, because this is really funny. Those are our headlines for the New Telegraph. Next point of call is the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, let's take a look at that for you. First off, again, like I mentioned, this story on the news about Senator Ohiemo Agege's defection from, or if you like, resignation from the APC is replicated across dailies today. It says here, Omo Agege quits APC amid Delta crisis. Of course, if that's the case.
So what's the next action? Is it going to bank on the drama happening with the Electoral Act and the INEC laws and every right now, and decide to jump on another party? Because if that becomes the case, then I think we are joking.
I thought you were even going to suggest a party to him.
I'm not. Why should I suggest a party to him?
The man is partyless at this point. At least that's the much we know.
Exactly. So I'm wondering what he wants to do, because INEC has said we don't even know the stance of INEC and the court on whether political figures can join parties at this point again.
Right.
That conversation seems to be stalled. Everyone is quiet, until one person decides to take that step.
But our understanding is that following the order from Justice Umar of the Federal High Court, to say, look, INEC has got to give up till September to parties to comply with certain provisions of the Electoral Act, right?
So what if parties at this point decide to say, well, our own party rules is that nobody joins again? Are they not free to make such a decision?
they can make such decisions. However, on what basis? Because there's something called freedom of association. On what basis can they not join? Is it because they do not meet the criteria? Or do you just have a set of rules that is draconian?
Exactly. We can decide to have...
But it's a democracy, remember. It's not a closed group on Facebook.
I understand that. However, I believe parties are still at liberty to set their rules.
Yes.
For example, the NDC has said 2027 elections will be zoned to the south. And 2031 will be zoned to the north. So does INEC at that point have any right to say, no, you guys can't set this rule?
No, there's nothing INEC can do about that.
Exactly.
Really.
So
because in the end, again, we're saying very landmark judgments in this regard, saying that it says an internal affairs of the party, so you guys go sort yourselves out.
It can also be an internal affair for a party to say we have a closing date to receive members because we do not want chaos. We don't want all of those human drama. So we restrict it to a certain point so that those that have already bought
maybe after election.
Exactly. We receive sales of form. Maybe we can even say, okay, we don't sell our form after so date. So even if you are coming, you're not buying any form. You're just coming to
join us as a member. Support what we're doing here.
I feel like that is what political parties at this point should do.
Right.
If they do not want chaos, because it's going to bring chaos and it will scatter parties. Yes.
Well, and many people even say that if the APC is not careful, that scattering will begin from within its own fold, especially on the back of these very, very controversial and in some cases, they say, divisive primaries that the party has conducted recently. The only one that appears to be more like, well, largely acceptable by the party is one that produced or that threw up President Tinubu as its own candidate. Yes, you can say it was a two-horse race, really, and the optics were very clear on that one. But you see, when you go to states, you look at how governors have been accused, including in my state, for example, of how, in certain ways, they've hijacked the process. Those who were supposed to go to the National Assembly, whether Senate or Reps, couldn't. Those who were supposed to claim tickets to go to State Houses of Assembly and whatever, and all of that, because governors, of course, have a big stake in the process, and they are very influential too.
Political parties also should be mindful of aggrieved members because it looks like an unending cycle in Nigeria. Someone is aggrieved, he comes to your party, and because of the fact that they are aggrieved, they give you support. There is a motive. And if that motive is not met, tomorrow they will become an aggrieved member again. They go to another party and
they are aggrieved on two ends.
Aggrieved on two ends. So before you accept people into your party, you should really understand what their motives are. If you're able to satisfy them, if you're able to grant their desires to them, why not? They can come in. But if it's at the expense of maybe some other persons, at the expense of your loyalists, your members, it's also a problem. Problems will also arise from there. So for example, now the APC members that are aggrieved decides to go to a different party today. They are going there, on what basis are they moving, are they coming, are you accepting them? You need to ask them, what do you want here? And if you're able to, you also need to have that conversation with your other party members.
That's right.
Because it's at that point you guys reach a consensus. Say, okay, we're going to allow you here, this is what you will do. What are you going to bring? What are you bringing to the table? And you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do for you. Okay, if you do this, can we all agree to do this for them in return? So that at the end of the day, you don't have an unending cycle of aggrieved members, people going into a different party to kick out the ruling government, only to frustrate it later when it doesn't benefit them. At the end of the day, Nigeria is in the crisis of democracy. We are facing the burnt effect of whatever these people are fighting and crying about. So that is one way to ensure that there is indeed democracy and Nigeria is safe.
Well, there you go. You have your political strategist now in the person of Priscilla Obasi. Make the most of that. Of our expertise. All right, let's continue looking at headlines for you from the Nigeria Tribune this morning. We'll take a look at the Star headline. It says, Tinubu to parents, kidnapped pupils in Oyo, Borno, you are not abandoned. Hopefully that is reassuring enough. The writer here says, abductees will be back home soon. Makinde gives assurance, all on page 4. Nigeria East's South Africa air cargo corridor cuts cost by 75%. Minister, what more do we have? External shocks, domestic factors pushing Nigeria's inflation higher, experts. Governors Mark Wike Khan orders lament insecurity, preach tolerance, coexistence at Salah. Federal government revives 417 grazing reserves to enhance food security. And what does the writer say? Miles plan to modernize livestock farming. And lastly, from the Nigerian Tribune, it's about health here. It says heavy marijuana use may increase lung cancer risk, researchers warn, on page 4. Heavy, with emphasis on heavy. But if I were you, I would not use at all. Those are all the headlines from the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Our next port of call is the Nigerian News Direct.
Okay, thank you. Nigerian News Direct has its first story below the nameplate, and coincidentally the star story. It says, Children's Day, Tinubu vows rescue of abducted students, teachers in Borno. Details on page 5. Borno, Oyo, beg your pardon. The next story is on insecurity, and it says, Ogun government deploy police, local security agencies to tighten security around schools. Details on page 3. Next story, why I resigned from APC, and that's coming from Omo Agege. You want to hear why, for those of you that like to hear the gist. Details on page 5, thereabouts. Oyo 2027, stop name dropping me for votes. Olubadan warns politicians. Okay, well, politicians, you heard that clearly. How REA's mini-grid solutions are driving Nigeria's $1 trillion economy target. I was about to bring that down. Please, the bar is high. And the details are on page 2. Finally, inflation will decline significantly before end of 2026. You find that story on page 2, and that is coming from the CBN. Those are our headlines for the Nigerian News Direct. Next point of call is the This Day newspaper.
All right. Well, we go there quickly now. On the front page of the This Day newspaper, above the nameplate first, it says Daily Oye. Dangote refinery can save Nigeria 15 trillion naira import costs, generate $11 billion FX inflow. Sounds promising. With two riders, ex-Nasima leader faults NNPC monopoly claim against facility. Calls for accountability in planned repair of government refineries. Right, then we'll bring it further down the list for you. Bayelsa Traditional Rulers Chair endorses Tinubu for second term. The big one tells us Atiku wins ADC presidential ticket to relieve 2023 poll, faces Tinubu Obi in 2027. Just with one rider. Polls 1,846,379 votes. Amechi 540,117. Hayatuddin 177,120. But nobody came close to the president, who scored 10.99 million.
They have fewer members in the ADC.
Of course they
Remember,
do.
some of them have gone to
Yes,
the ADC.
to pitch their tent elsewhere. Can imagine. Well, those are all the headlines from this day newspaper. We do hope you take out time to look at details so you can stay guided. Let's go look at our last paper on the program this morning. The blueprints. Not much of headlines on the front of it.
Okay, the blueprints. Maybe just go ahead with it because
Let's see what we have there above the nameplate first. It says Nigeria's challenges surmountable. That's Emir Sanusi there speaking. Of course, we've got to bring that spirit to bear. Abducted Oyo teachers, students will, let me see what it says there. It says, we'll be back home soon. That's Governor Sheyi Makinde reassuring us there. Tinubu committed to easing problems, Shetima assures. And then beneath the nameplate, party's primaries, high turnover looms, only 55 out of 105 senators secure return tickets. APC aspirants protest delay in issuance of certificates of return. Why is issuance being delayed? Well, you can find out on page 8 of the Blueprint newspaper today. Well, those are all the headlines from the papers this morning. As always, we encourage you to take a look at the details for yourself. It's electionary year. Do not tolerate fake news or misinformation, or worse still, disinformation. And again, to remind you that all of these headlines are brought to you exactly as published by their respective publishers, Global Television as a broadcast media outfit, or the team here on Global Morning does not in any way contribute to them. We're taking a break, and the rest of Global Morning continues shortly. Please do stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
You see, every time we're done with the papers here, I mean, looking at the headlines and sometimes just delving a little into the substance of those headlines, we also encourage you to take responsibility, take initiative to read for yourself so you can be informed and hear from these official sources, as we call them. And now there's a video, well, an audio really, for some. At other points, you find a video supposedly of President Bola Tinubu talking about insecurity, how that is not going to deal with insecurity because the forces within the polity had tried very vehemently to stop him from becoming president in 2023. And if he stops it now, it will affect his chances of becoming president in 2027. He goes ahead to say that he had reached out to Peter Obi of the NDC to step down for him. Peter Obi is not budging. And I mean, it just goes on and on. You could hear supposedly the president ranting the entire time. But from all indications, this is obviously a deep fake. I mean, a video generated using AI and other sophisticated elements on the internet. But it points to how that people can go to any extreme to, as it were, perverse what ought to be a blessing, what ought to be a resource for making a difference in ways that are remarkably positive. And now this person had to go all the way to the president. He didn't even look at Priscilla or ETC. Let me start with some broadcast journalists.
So I was going to ask, does it have to be a crime when it gets to the president? It's a crime when it even happens to me, when it happens to you, when it happens to any.
So you're saying it's not more of a crime because it's the president?
Exactly. It has been there, and maybe it's time for the presidency and our lawmakers to look deeply into this, because we fold our hands until it happens to someone that is big in Nigeria, and then we start to react. People have been faking there have been deep fakes everywhere. You will see an ad on Facebook with maybe an actress's face. People don't even do audio. They do the visuals. They get their voices. I've seen moments where actresses will come out to debunk, an ad or whatever it is, a money doubling scheme. I've seen.
Sometimes you see even bank executives, some of the leading TV anchors in this country.
Exactly. I've seen one with this guy, Frank Edoho. I know he came out to also debunk.
Dr. Ruben Abati, the likes of a show, Kim Baloye.
And we have been complaining. These people have been complaining, but somehow it looks as if we are all cutting crews in the country, or maybe people that are supposed to pay attention to it are looking at it and waiting for it to happen to the president. And then when it happens to him, we are running helter-skelter, as if we don't know these things happening existing. Maybe the motive right now is to pin it on someone, or just use it for some political. That is how our politicians react. So when it comes out like this, the opposition or the ruling party will say, how do we use this thing for the people, or with the people, or to get our own motive, or to just push an agenda that would help us politically. Do you understand? And they now look for a way to harness it. Because that's what I see playing out. A deep fake is out there, which is not news in Nigeria. It has been ongoing for a while. Ever since AI came into Nigeria, Nigerians have not rested. We have used the life out of it. And I'm wondering, okay, people are using it to make money. Maybe when you get the views on Facebook and these other social media platforms, they are able to make money. Because I'm wondering, I hope they're even making money from it. They're not just using it for chaos and all of that. But apparently they are, if you look at it deeply. And then it now happens to be our president now. It's his turn. And we're acting as if, wow, what an abomination.
All of a sudden.
Wow, this is so bad. People have tried, I also see they're trying to pin it on, VDM. VDM has come out to say, I'm not going to explain nothing to you guys. There are more serious things to talk about. People have been kidnapped. We are, the president's spokesman have not lent his voice to that, according to Very Dark Man. So why is this all of a sudden more
of special interest?
Of special interest. Then I see, like I said, maybe our politicians are trying to use this to, you understand, maybe for some, I don't know, for political
diversionary tactics.
Exactly, because it's funny. It's funny. And how people have been calling for the head of VDM in the midst of VDM must go to jail. VDM must do this. Did VDM come out to create the video or the audio? Did he post it on
Has it been tracked to him?
Has it been tracked? With all the resources and our intelligence, we are still speculating with digital tools, with digital outputs. We are trying to guess. We are trying to use emotions. Something that can be stressed with some forensic analysis here and there. It's so funny. It just shows how backward we are as a nation. This is not an argument. Call an expert now, they will tell you where this is coming from. They will trace it down to who made it. That is science.
Right.
We are just emotional people. They're already crying right now for maybe for VDM. Like, oh God,
he's in trouble.
He's in trouble. He's going to go to jail. God save VDM. Hey, this is how backward. It's funny. I can't even understand Nigeria. Like, we are very intelligent, and I know we are far behind this, but I know that there are some people that are yet to come to terms with the reality of the digital age, and for the most part of it, they are the ones panicking. It's worth panicking, but I'm only saying that this is not a today thing, and we need to trace it, or we need to deal with it from its roots. Those that are the perpetrators of deep fakes, because it's a serious crime. It is a serious. People have been scammed for this. People have lost their valuables, their fortunes for deep fakes. We didn't have to wait for it to get to the president to start reacting.
I totally agree. And there's also the Cyber Crime Act, Prevention and Prohibition, right? 2024, I think it is. Part of the provision of the or one of the provisions of that act is that it prohibits stalking, cyber stalking, quite precisely. And then, of course, it also provides that you do not have the right to record someone's audio without their consent, without their knowledge. In fact, express consent or permission, as it were. But let's focus on the issue of cyber stalking. Now, the question is, if you were to ask a lawyer, I guess the question would be, does this fall within the the ambit or the brackets of cyberstalking, right? And then if, like we found out, it's a fake video, no doubt about it. If we are eventually able to track it to an entity or an individual who is responsible for the generation of this video, what does the law say? You see, beyond the politics of it, the optics, the hula baloo, the debates on the social media around us, we need to realize that the world has changed, and that change is happening very fast. When Twitter, as it then was, now X today, just came, people could just go there and say all the things they want to, all the unprintable things about an individual, about the politically exposed person, about an institution, and get away with it for the most part. But today that is changing. We're seeing celebrities. We're seeing Adekunle Gold, for example. We're seeing one of the one half of the P Square. All right, who've been able to take this up legally against those who have come to, as it were, just do damage to their reputation. All right, you don't just go say something about someone because you don't like them. It's not enough. The other ways you can even up with people without having to get into trouble with the law. People seem to think there are no laws, or those who even assume or believe there are laws think that, well, it can't get to them. After all, the laws are docile, the laws are sleeping, so to say. You see, somebody said, until a court convicts and sends you to jail, you won't know that there are laws. For example, somebody stole the phone of former governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, who went on to become minister under late former president Muhammadu Buhari. And I can remember the number of years that person was sentenced for, all right, by competent courts in this country. And then somebody says, well, now you're showing off your powers as judiciary. Why don't you do that too to those who steal, those who siphon? You see, we can have that debate and the argument will be valid. However, it doesn't take away the fact that justice has been done in that case for as long as that judgment was based on credible, undeniable intelligence. So we are saying that to say that you may differ with the president on his policies, on a number of issues, but you don't have to go to the extreme of having to do that kind of video. And like you mentioned, beyond the president, it is wrong on all levels, regardless of the person about whom that video was generated.
And Nigerian content creators, I don't even think that some of them do this because of hate. They can just sit down and say what would sell. Because
traffic.
It's traffic, monetization. People are so engrossed with making money off social media. And I've seen a lot of content creators come out and cry, oh, it's not paying anymore. So people are even going to the extreme to look for clickbait. So
that means desperation has set in.
It has set in. And I know that countless times when these people are arrested, you see the likes of Showore come out to advocate, to defend, to say don't use the police to harass all of them. But can he also lend his voice to also warn Nigerians to tread cautiously, to know how to use digital tools positively, to know how to use social media positively? We know that there are blogs that you don't want to put out gists. But do you have to lie? Do you have to push a false narrative? Do you have to disinform people? You don't know what it does. You think that because you are learned, you know how to handle these things. But people that take these things hook, line, and sinker, they do not want to know if it's lies. If you have a parent, you will see them share stuff with you on WhatsApp. You will know that constantly they are saying, this is bad. The way they share, if you check my chats, my WhatsApp chat with my mom, it's self-forwarded videos. Sometimes I'm like, can you stop sending this thing? So it means that these elderly people look at these things and they don't even think that it's a lie. They don't know that there is such thing as deepfake. They take it in and they are praying for you not to fall victim. It's affecting them. It's messing up with their own minds. There are such vulnerable people in this society, and Nigerians must know this. You are learned does not mean that the next person is. The person can use that information to do harm, to cause chaos, and you don't know. So we need to sanitize the social media space. I don't know how we go about it, but it needs to be done already. People should know. The other day I saw a video of one woman in court with one content creator, and the way, judging the matter, I think she had put out a false information about her, and she took her to court. It was in the courtroom, the lady was begging and crying and kneeling and saying, I will never do this again. I will never do this again. And I'm like, oh, you didn't know that you would end up here. So you don't even know that these things are crime.
That there are consequences.
They don't know. So we need whichever regulation body or bodies that are in charge of, the Cybercrime Act, I know that there's an NCAA, I don't know that, but they're not. I don't think they're working enough. They need to sanitize the public.
Actually, the Cybercrime Act is such that you have this sort of what I like to call interagency arrangement or collaboration for enforcing it. For example, you have the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Of course, you have a couple of other, you have the DSS. All of these are within the purview of the NSA, right? As a matter of fact, the cybercrime framework in its entirety is domiciled with the National Security Advisor, right? So it's an integral part of their mandate of the work that they do. But we need to see it bite, all right? We need to see it do beyond just barking, because for the most part, we're still barking. We need to see it bite, not just to hound and haunt and taunt political opponents, but to make it work in the interest of justice for everyone involved. It's for Nigerians, not just for a select few. We need to see it being invoked every time it matters.
And I want to see more intentional education from that department, whichever department is in charge of it. Because you don't wait for people to fall victim and then all of a sudden they are seeing themselves in jail. Because I tell you the truth, like I said, a lot of people do not know this act. They don't know there's such a crime as such. So massive education. As we need to educate the public. They are not aware. Ignorance, they say, is not an excuse to the law. Yes. At the same time, the social media space, digital space is quite new. A lot of people are not born in digital age, in the computer age.
I'm sure the president said he ran away from the internet because they traumatized them.
Exactly. So people have been running away from the internet. How will you get to know these things? You don't watch, you don't see it on your TV. They don't do so much publicity about it. So how do they know that this is a crime? When a president runs from the internet, if we don't have our mothers and fathers there, if we have Nigerian youth that say, I'm not interested in this space, how do they get to know? Are these things taught in normal, conventional schools, primary, secondary, even at university level? I don't go to study a cyber crime, in university. Would I get to know these things? Who do I hear it from? We need to see education, like education around, the Cybercrime Act, the cybercrime laws, the digital space, sanitization of the digital space. We need to see massive education in that regard. That is what I really think. We don't have enough of it.
Apparently, and that's quite disturbing. But then we continue to push the narrative and hope agencies like the National Orientation Agency will jump in on this. The DSS also has its own public affairs department. One, at least I know at a point, was up and doing. You have quite a number of them. I mean, go back to your mandate, look at what your remit is. Again, revisit the work that's been cut out for you. All right?
Maybe we even need a ministry carved out specially
for things like this,
because it's important at this point,
right,
where the world is at right now.
All right, so Priscilla is saying let's not lag behind as a country, as a government, and of course as a people. We're taking a quick break at this point, everyone. When we return, we'll put our first conversation on the road for you. Do stay with us.
At Erojim Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Erojim Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944. or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
There was this conversation that started about what would, all else equal, become a coalition against the All Progressives Congress. At that point in time, the coalition that was being built said, amongst other things, its ultimate vision was to unseat the APC-led government of President Bola Tinubu. And then, of course, the question of on what platform would this coalition run became the next line of action. Ultimately, there was a settle, as it were, for the ADC. But today, we have seen depletion in that regard, with the likes of Peter Obi now moving to the NDC. It is now a question of a divergence between what traditionally should have been an opposition and what had been envisioned to be some sort of, if you like, a coalition. But today, whatever the case may be, it is clear that there's some sort of, if you like, opposing force against the APC. But how forceful, how vehement is that force is one of the questions being raised at this point in time. Just yesterday, for example, news came through that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has now emerged as the presidential flag bearer of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. An outcome the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Chibike-Amechi, says is not comfortable with, raising allegations that the process was rigged against him. Under such circumstance, is it possible to say Nigeria has a virile political opposition front? Our guest this morning is Sunday Wugira. He's a lawyer, politician, and public affairs commentator. Barrister Sunday would like to say a big thank you to you. First time in our live studio.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Great.
And you have a good place here.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, your man, the former vice president, who happens to be from your state, is again in the spotlight now. So it means the way has been paved for him to stand for election for the office of the president in 2027. When you look at the outcome of the ADC process, what would be your assessment?
Well, it is something that has left so much to be desired, actually, because, in all honesty, the direct primaries has come with its own peculiar and unique challenge.
Right.
Peculiar and unique in the sense that, yes, they said it is the people or members of the political party, but even members of the political party are complaining that they don't even know where the direct primaries is being held. So, and results are coming out. So you begin to wonder and ask questions. Are we really ready for democracy? Are we really? And the most concerning thing or issue is the fact that you are alleging or you are accusing the government in power of stifling democratic principles, democratic norms and practices. And at the same time, what you're accusing the government in power of doing is what you're even doing, or even worse. Or even worse. In most of the states, most of the political parties, they just write names of candidates as winners of direct primaries. But there was no election anywhere. There was no primary election anywhere. People would just be gathered under a tree in one primary school or one public square from morning till night. There will be nothing. Nobody will even come and tell them that, sorry, we are having challenges. Nobody will come and tell them that, no, we are sorry, we have postponed this. And you'll see some people coming early in the morning, lining up just for camera effect. You know, that they are counting from one, next is 100, next is 1,000, you know, and some miscreants will just be hailing.
Is that geometry when you move from 6 to 65 to 110?
In fact, it is a novel thing.
Exponential growth.
In mathematics.
Right.
Mathematicians must come up with a name for this. It is beyond.
And you have one in front of you, right?
Maybe you'll be of help.
Well, it's political maths.
It's interesting. Okay, in the case of the APC, President Bola Tinubu was said to have scored 10.99 million votes.
Almost 11.
Some people say it's possible that the APC has base home and in the diaspora, so maybe we don't have enough energy this morning to go into the rigors of that process in itself. But the ADC is particularly of interest because it's within the fold of the opposition.
Yes.
I'm sure that's where the interest is coming from.
Exactly.
And now a gentleman like Rotimi Amechi is saying that the process was rigged against him. So would you say his argument is valid? And maybe talk to us about how that may further impact the party.
Well, I know Rotimi Amechi very well from his antecedents. He's somebody who doesn't just talk anyhow without facts and reasons. So I'm sure he has facts to that effect. And perception, you know, from the little I have seen and heard, you know, of what transpired before the presidential primaries,
Right.
in almost all the political parties. Certainly, all these political parties, they have their own preferred candidates penciled down before the beginning of the whole thing.
Who are choosing these preferred candidates? Is it the president, is it the governors, or does the party have an organ that does that?
Cabals.
Within the party?
Yes, within the party. Every political party in Nigeria today is governed by cabals. It's whether we are ready to take it, whether we are ready or not, that is the reality, that is the truth, that is the fact.
Well, my own concern is, since these political members and leaders understand that there is such thing as a cabal, how do they come together, deceive themselves that they're going to run a primary election, only to come and cry after the result?
Well, they all come with rhetorics, just like the Animal Farm. You know, if you've read the Animal Farm, you know that they come with beautiful rhetorics, that we are going to be different, we are going to be like every other. And the first step they will take against you is to pauperize you, to make their forms to be so expensive that it takes a great chunk of your resources. The campaigns before the primaries, you know, and most of the preferred candidates are silent. They don't go anywhere. They don't see anybody. They don't expend any resources. You know?
Because they are being sponsored.
Yeah, no. They know what they are doing. They know that they are the anointed candidates. So they don't need to see anybody. They don't need to seek for validation or acceptance. They don't care about the members. All they know is, at the end of the day, I'll carry it.
So you are saying the other members of the party do not even know that these things are happening?
You see, most of the members of political parties, the downtrodden, the registered members, some of them, in fact, presently, as it is, with the online registration, a lot of crimes have been perpetrated in the registration process. Most political parties, they go and negotiate with the national identity card people.
The NIMC.
Yes, they get data of people, they register them as members of their political parties.
Against their will,
yes,
without
they don't
knowledge.
even know. They don't even know. It has happened. Some people, after, of course, certain things, you go when Providence pushes you to another party, you want to register, then you discover in their system that you are already registered. So this is exactly what is happening. You see, the quest for power, for what it gives, makes virtually every political actor a silent criminal, which is most unfortunate. It's most unfortunate for whatever reason. And most of these political actors, they are just trading post agents. I used to say this. Some of them are not even contesting for elections. They are just blocking other people from coming on board. You know, and some are coming with the mindset that for whatever reason I must contest in this election. It is not about winning. I must be on the ballot.
So it that makes sense to me why, I'll see these primaries with a lot of elderly people on the queue, and I'm wondering, are these also party members? What have they been told? Are usually people consciously registered to become part of this party? Because some of them look like they were just woken up from their sleep, to just come and queue up.
If you look at the poverty index in Nigeria, a lot of people that you see coming to line up are just there for the 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 that will be given to them to go out and vote. So most of them, they don't even know what they are going. You will see them in Party A, Party B, Party C, Party D. You will see them. Some of them, you will see a man carrying a membership card of a female. A woman displaying. And I think I have some that they complained that they were given membership cards in the morning, they lined up, they were viewed, they were counted, and at the end of the day, they were not given anything, what they were promised. Some were given 500 and there will be a balance of 1,000. They accepted the 500 with the membership card. They stayed under the sun from morning till around 4, and they could not get whoever that will give them the balance of 1,000.
Meanwhile, they have been counted.
They've been counted. And they stayed under the sun from morning, perhaps 6:30 in the morning, up till 5 or 6 in the evening.
Interesting.
12 hours.
Wow. So are we saying that INEC needs to move away from just focusing on, elections, proper elections, to primaries, monitoring primaries, but not just supposed to focus on the voter register
most of the people,
but party membership.
Most of the officials deployed by INEC to these primary grounds are also accomplices.
To politicians.
So we have INEC officials at primary grounds.
Yes.
They will go there, they will see all the irregularities. It will never reflect in their reports. It will never reflect in their reports. They also have their own allocation. So it is a sad commentary for a nation, a very sad commentary. And I think the time has come for whoever that will be voted into the National Assembly by Nigerians to be scrutinized, let us first and foremost give them a marching order. The first thing that you're going to do upon getting to the National Assembly, being inaugurated, is to work on the Electoral Act that will be acceptable to all Nigerians. Suspend every other thing. Give us an Electoral Act that is workable. Let us have public hearings. Within 12 calendar months, let us have, perhaps the only other thing that you will be allowed to work on is perhaps the appropriation bill, you know.
Right.
But this Electoral Act, for somebody to just wait until the eve of the election before we'll have an Electoral Act. And let us make it a practice that where the president refused to assent to the electoral bill,
Right.
it should go back to the National Assembly and get accepted by the majority as provided.
In this case, 2/3.
Yes, as provided by the law.
Right.
To override the president.
But again,
you remember in 2019,
right,
President Muhammadu Buhari refused to assent to.
His reason there was that it was too close to the election.
Exactly. So if he could give the reason that it was too close to the election, why did he sleep until that time? He could have been on their toes. He was sending, there is nothing that precludes the executive from sponsoring the Electoral Act.
That's right.
If there was a genuine desire, to have an act that is pro-people, he could have sponsored that. Yet again, he signed the Electoral Act in 2022,
Right.
just a year to go to the polls. And heavens did not fall. And he never complained. So there was a conspiracy. And there will always be one. Nigerians must rise up. The fundamental area that we need to work on as a people is those who represent us in the National Assembly. Let us forget about the president. Let us have people, human beings, responsible Nigerians, patriots in the National Assembly and in the state assemblies. Believe you me, things will work out. But if you look at the caliber of people in the National Assembly today, you will not be proud of the fact that you are even a Nigerian. These are demagogues. I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. They are behaving like children. If you look at their profiles, they are people that actually should represent Nigeria anywhere under the sun. But are they truly representing us?
And we look
Some
at
of them are silent. Some of them were intimidated.
That's at the National Assembly?
Yes. Some of them are just Man Fridays. They are just there to represent not even their interests, other mundane interests. You see someone because you are having a different opinion, you'll be removed from your office. You'll be intimidated. Somebody will tell you that I will suspend you, you know, and things will happen. The court will order, go back, your suspension is, and the legislature will say that no, somebody will be insulting somebody for having a different opinion. So we have issues that we must address. But as a people, let us ensure that whoever that we are choosing to go to the National Assembly, it is something that we can control within our districts. Somebody that will become the senator in my zone, in Adamawa State, will be declared within my zone.
Right.
You know, so we will have a say in the process. We will monitor from the polling unit to the declaration point.
Right.
But when it comes to the president, you have a limitation. They will tell you that there is a glitch, there is this, there is that. It will take days, it will be announced when everybody is sleeping, you know. But even if you have a president that you do not like, you have no power to control, when you have a representative that will exercise oversight function, a regulation over him, you can go to sleep. When we have like 80 senators who are upright, who are pro-people, the president must sit up, or he knows the consequences. When we have like 250 members of the House of Representatives, you know that the president must sit up, that will not be carried away or intimidated by money or whatever influence, whatever, they will not be threatened, and they have no skeletons in their cupboard, that the EFCC will be there threatening them, or the ICPC or whatever, or police, you know that Nigeria will start getting it right. So I am calling on Nigerians to center on those who are going to represent us. Unfortunately, the gatekeepers at the parties are making it most unfortunate or impossible for Nigerians to get their desired choices.
So at the end of the day, we're still going back to where we're coming from.
Yes.
Right? Because Nigerians ultimately want to get the best. But when the primary election, somehow is being sabotaged, is, being rigged, in Amichi's words.
Yes. It's most unfortunate.
At the end of the day, we still have to work with what the cabals give to us. So it brings me to the Electoral Act. Do you think that it is all encompassed? Do you think that it is in its best form? Do you think it can be made better, especially to carry along primary elections and make sure it's being scrutinized as much as it should, to give Nigerians the liberty, or to make it favorable, to make it free and fair indeed for candidates that just want to come up and contest?
The Electoral Act that we have at the moment is not all encompassing. In fact, it is anti-people. Yes, it emanated from the National Assembly, but I am telling you that is not their input. It was shoved through their throats, because we all know that the 10th Assembly may go down as the worst assembly we will ever have as a people, as a nation.
Why is that?
They are just there, not representing Nigerians, not even representing themselves. That is the truth. If you chronicle their performance from the beginning, and then you compare with other assemblies from the commencement of the Fourth Republic in 1999, you know that they are the worst. We are supposed to have improved beyond this. If you look at even the Electoral Act that was passed by the 9th Assembly, when you know that it is not even their work, the 2022 Electoral Act, the senators locked themselves out of the primary process, which is to tell you that it is not their work. It was shoved upon them. And now somebody sat down. These are people that have been disconnected with their people, detached from them, alienated. They alienated themselves from the people. And now they brought about this issue of direct primaries. Some of them dare not even go and confront the people. They will be lynched. So, knowing that the primaries is now given the semblance of, okay, it is the people, they can manipulate the process, they can manipulate the people. They use all manner of things: complacency, apathy, poverty, ignorance. That is all. And they got their way. At the end of the day, you see people being counted. And the result will just be different. What you see on the field where such is actually done is different from what is announced.
As it stands today, you look at the National Assembly, you have said they are just there, they are not able to make impacts, quite frankly.
Yes.
That appears really like a serious setback for the nation and, of course, for democracy. But my real question is about democracy. Can we have this kind of system, this kind of political reality, like we have seen with parties regarding their primaries, We've seen the process, even with the APC, for example. At this point, 27 years down the line into democracy, the Fourth Republic, as we call it, is it still valid? Is it still realistic to say Nigeria is practicing democracy?
Well, Nigeria actually is not practicing democracy. Well, democracy has so many definitions. You know, since it is about the people. It may not be the democracy we know, or that is practiced globally. It is a unique version, the Nigerian version of a democracy that is being controlled by some few individuals and being shoved on the people as their own choice. While it is not, they have no input whatsoever. And because a lot of people, you know, people are hungry, people are tired, people have given up, they are just ready to take anything. You will see some responsible people coming out to speak things that you know that deep within them, if ever they have a conscience, they know that we have a problem. And then if you look at the poor people themselves, they are not helping matters. Somebody is willing to even sign off his life for a cup of rice, you know, something that will not last you the day, and you are ready to trade off every presence of government in your life in any way for 4 years. And the same thing will happen again. And I'm telling you, if keep it on record, the poor people will, on the day of voting, receive 1,000 to go and vote for a candidate that may end up slaughtering them, and then they will come and receive 500 naira to go and start burning their houses that their election has been rigged. That is our story. That is our complexity as a people. And at the end of the day, they will come and line up to receive half a measure of rice, half a measure of beans, a pint of gari, you know, as palliative for the riots that they caused upon themselves by the government that they rioted against.
That's right.
And somebody will be telling them, somebody will be telling the world that this government is compassionate, this government has empathy, and all the things that when you look at the Nigerian, oh God, you wonder whether our genetics is different from other human beings.
I want us, just before Priscilla get right back on the conversation, I want us to look at political parties themselves. In basic computer science, you hear the term garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
If we have this much crisis inside political parties, whether the opposition parties or the ruling party, isn't that a clear sign that governance in Nigeria is still in trouble, especially now that we are inching closer to 2027?
Yes, that's not in doubt. Let me give you an example of political parties. Every person that you see in a political party, from the national chairman to the least person in the world, represents an entity, not the people or the members of the party. When it is time for congresses, most of the people that you see attending or going to vote are carefully chosen to validate a candidate belonging to someone, in the absolute control of someone who will do his bidding, who is ready to go to hell on his behalf, against whoever. So when you go to the world, when you go to the local government, when you go to the state, when you go to the national level, all of them are representatives of entities and not representatives of members of the party. All of them, from the national, from the APC to the last political party, even this party belonging to Shawari,
the AAC.
the AAC, It is their party executives are his products.
So you're saying he owns the party?
He owns the party. That is what he is saying. He has never hidden that. And this is somebody that is coming out to say that he is a pro-democrat, he fights for democracy.
But that's not democracy in any way.
And in fact, he is the national chairman of the party and he is the presidential candidate of the party. He will tell you that I am funding the party.
And you think that's an aberration?
It is. It is. You can't just be a party's national chairman and the presidential candidate at the same time. It shows that that is not a party. That is a property.
Interesting. So when it comes to democracy, I feel like Nigerians, maybe they have a definition, but they don't have a full understanding of what it is.
We understand the whole thing. The process is what we want to manipulate because of the end result. Once you are chosen, you are an emperor. You control people, you control their resources. You allocate as you wish, and to get loyalty, to control, to pauperize or to enrich for your own benefit, in your own best interest. And you want to remain perpetually in control. That is the issue. And nobody is raising any question. And even those that are expected to raise questions are even those that you find out that they are neck deep into the whole thing.
So I was particularly referring to the common man, the ordinary Nigerians, as I would want to refer to them as. When it comes to leadership, a lot of people, because of the poverty rate in the land, right, they are able to be great leaders because you know that you are leading people that do not have enough. So somehow you automatically earn their loyalty because they're looking for what to eat the next minute. A lot of our leaders are not leaders indeed. If democracy is being practiced, if all things are being, equal, if there is good healthcare system, accessible education, and all of that, that is indeed where we'll test the leadership capacity of most of our politicians and even leaders, even the private and public sector. So because of poverty, a lot of people have already failed. Do you understand? And they use the failure of the system as an excuse. Now, when I say democracy now, you pointed out that Nigerians should focus on electing good, House of Representative members, the Senate. Their focus should be on the Senate because ultimately the Senate determines what goes out. The Senate determines the laws. But we have a president that appoints, his ministers, the Federal Executive Council. And ultimately it still goes back to the Senate to screen and, approve and all of that. It means that if we have good senators, if we have credible senators, whoever becomes a minister of education, whoever becomes a minister of health, and all the federal executive councils that exist would, be screened thoroughly and would ensure that we have the right hand. It means that we'll still have a good Senate leader. We'll have a good Senate president because they ultimately determine who becomes the Senate president, right? So it falls back to Nigerians electing right hands in the Senate. Ultimately will give us, that ultimately will give us the right leaders we have in our society. But we have Nigerians that don't even know the process to these things. And most times we want to focus on the president, who becomes the president of Nigeria, who becomes the governor of the state, and all that. And that is where the focus is. And I feel like intentionally our leaders have hit, somehow they don't want to even put out this information. When it comes to primaries, it looks as if it's not important. But this is the most important election. Because ultimately it determines who becomes your candidate from your party. But people their hands are folded. We are hearing Rotimi Amechi crying out, it doesn't concern us. Let's wait for 2027. That is where a lot of Nigerians' minds are on. So I want you to really enlighten our audience, especially for those that even aspire to one day get into these offices. They don't even know how to go about it. They don't know the right. They feel like, I can do this. I have the right morals, and maybe I need all the experience in the world, and that's why Nigerians will say, okay, we need somebody that is older because he has an experience. So people have the integrity. They don't want to even get their hands soiled. I feel like you being part of the system over and over even makes you soil your hands. Puts you at that disadvantage of not speaking out because you have soiled your hands. And you have to be loyal to people so that they don't call you out or take you to an EFCC or whatsoever. So for those that have the integrity, the moral standing, that wants to, be part of this system that changes Nigeria, I want you to just put out a word to them.
Well, before I get to that, let me say something. It may be out of context.
Okay.
First and foremost, I'm a product of public schools. I went to public primary school. I went to public secondary school. I went to public university. It was free. It was functional. And I got the best. Now, coming from a humble background with poor parents who never even had the benefit of going to school, but having their children accessing education freely, a walk away from the home, the family home. From my father's house to my primary school, you walk for less than 7 minutes and get to school and come back home. Nobody accompanies you. Nobody was afraid. You get my point? Now, having gotten the best now, I am supposed to advocate and champion for free, accessible education for every Nigerian.
Right.
If at the time I got this free education, this free access, quality education, and today the government cannot provide for teeming Nigerians, young people, freedom, nobody can control me anymore for the education I have gotten, for the transformation that has taken place in me. What most of us who are beneficiaries of free education today are doing. As a Christian, God will question me, and God will question those of us who refuse to do anything. This denial of access to education, it is a careful practice. It is never an inadvertence. It is never because government is overwhelmed.
You are saying it's an agenda?
It is an agenda. You see, when you have people that are not educated in the majority, you can give them anything. They will swallow. In fact, you can ask them to take poison and drink it in the name of God wants to have them in heaven. They can easily be radicalized, and that is why we have insurgents. People that are dying and not knowing why they are dying. People that are killing other people and not knowing why they are killing other people. Or because they have been inflamed, they have been radicalized thinking that they are doing the work of God. And the same God that they are doing his work is telling everyone that he who kills must also be killed.
Right.
And so there is a disconnect. And then poverty naturally finds comfort where there is no enlightenment, where there is no knowledge, where there is no education. It is also a weapon. The average leader in Nigeria today is scared of the enlightened man. Unfortunately, the enlightened man is not doing anything rightly to enlighten others within his own reach. Within his own reach. The enlightened man will, if you ask a professor to become a party chairman in his local government, he will not. He will tell you that you are insulting me. But participation by the enlightened is one thing that is very, very fundamental. We can't run away from this. We must recapture Nigeria by active participation. Look at ASU. ASU has no any objective today other than going on strike.
Can we blame them?
As intellectuals.
Can we blame them?
Yes.
Why should we blame them?
We have, these are people that produce people or everyone that is an intellectual in Nigeria today. What stops ASU as a people, as an entity from floating a political party, rallying around Nigerian students alone across board can form a government.
You're saying there's already a model with what the NLC has done with Labour Party?
But the Labour Party now has been taken away from NLC.
So what's the guarantee that if ASU were to float that sort of initiative, it will not go the same way?
You see, that is why they're intellectuals. You study causes and effects, and you provide solutions. So their inability to even have a control, to even float a political party as a solution that will first and foremost ensure that the greater percentage of the resources of Nigeria is channeled into education. You see, when people are educated, you are spiritually uplifting these people from so many things. They are no longer going to be susceptible to diseases. They are no longer going to be susceptible to poverty. They are going to be skillful. You know, they will generate wealth. You will make the system affordable and comfortable for everyone. Not everyone will be educated, but let us have a greater majority. And let us also have a system that will comfortably accommodate those that are vulnerable within the system. And that is how nations work. That is how nations prosper. But you are always sitting down, criticizing, intimidating, going on strike. Even the National Association of Nigerian Students now, it has been taken over by politicians. I know of one person who is a NANS executive for the past 16 years. And I asked him, don't you graduate?
I hear some of them go back to school again and again, do master's program.
Yes, and
they just try to stay in school.
And he said, I've graduated. I went back for my master's. I'm now a PhD student. I said, you are not a PhD student. You are just holding an ID card to represent an interest. So that is the employment that he has chosen for himself.
So the PhD program is a cover for
He is not even a PhD student. I did my due diligence. He's just there, perhaps going through one certificate course. And because he's a non-figure, he's non-zonal this, non-this.
So the school allow him?
Of course. Of course. The school will even be comfortable having him as NANS leader because he will not want to create crisis. He has a stake in students being in schools, whether the system runs well or not.
So he doesn't want to rock the boat?
He doesn't want to rock the boat. And he will serve whatever purpose they ask him to.
At national level?
Anywhere. And you will see them, you will go to government houses asking for support. They will have cars, NANS 001, SUG 001, and stuff like that. And they are very comfortable. Very comfortable. The school, the powers that be are comfortable with them that now the students are being checkmated. There is no student uprising anymore. Students are not challenging government. You will see NANS president becoming the senior special assistant to the president on youth.
Is there something wrong about that? Are we not talking about inclusive democracy?
We are talking about inclusive democracy, but what about conflict of interest? That is the issue. As senior special assistant to the president on youth mobilization, you cannot look into the eyes of the president and tell him that, Mr. President, it is either you do this for the Nigerian students or we shut down. You dare not. He is your employee. Your loyalty is to him and not to the people you represent anymore.
And table manners are required too.
Of course. You keep quiet when you are eating. That is the issue. So if you look at the whole thing, if students themselves are compromised, if the ASU or whatever they are confused, you can imagine the kind of nation we'll have.
So if you ultimately blame maybe the ASU and NANS and all of that. We have a Minister of Education right now, and he has been doing, I think he has been doing great. I would really commend him for all the reforms he has brought to the education system. But somehow compliance and follow-up sometimes is our problem in this country. You have a wonderful, fantastic reforms, but it's not carried out to the latter. You don't checkmate to see that even the public schools in the nook and crannies of the country are complying with all of your reforms and regulation. I think it's a problem. So how do we ensure that? We also have a country that has folded its hands to public schools and allowed private schools become the order of the day. There's so much classism. You have to have so much money to get the best of education today. And that is because we don't have functional public schools anymore. You've highlighted that it's a strategy. But is it indeed a strategy?
Let me even shock you. You will see a principal in a government school owning a private school.
Okay.
Being the proprietor of a private school. A principal. You will see education secretary in government owning a private school. And just tell yourself, would these people ever ensure that we have a functional government school? Because if my children attend private schools, so if there is a functional government school,
switch.
I will never take my children to, I would save what I am paying as school fees, and it will help in other areas of my life. But when the public school is strategically destroyed, intentionally destroyed, they are just conduit pipes. Money goes there, but what is the result? Unfortunately, again, you will see a rise in the performance of students in the final exit exams. Most of them are products of examination malpractice. Some of them are, we have people today getting SSCE without appearing.
By proxy?
Yes, by proxy. Teachers are involved, schools are involved, they will collect money from parents that we have to take care of. You will see people struggling to be WAEC supervisors, invigilators, because it pays. They get paid to look the other way while students are getting questions before even the commencement of the examination.
And there are cases that students even pay them.
Yes, there is no synergy in even the body. Everybody is struggling. I want to be this, I want to be that. When it is time for examination, people are bringing their own. So the chaos in the educational sector, it is an intentional thing.
And you say it's part of what is keeping us where we are right now.
Yes. Even universities today, people are getting degrees by proxy. And when someone comes out of the university, you see he's a product of second class, upper, first class, engage him. And you begin to check whether his head is fixed to his leg or it is the one that you're seeing on his body. You get my point. And nobody is saying that, wait, this thing is not good for us. We either get it right or we just put a timeline when we will not have anything anymore.
I really feel that ultimately it still falls back to poverty. Nigeria is such a complicated space. You're looking for solutions and you're getting yourself entangled in another problem. Because this person will defend why he's doing what they're doing. They'll tell you, oh, there's no money. We don't have any choice. We have to survive. The economy is bad. So ultimately, everybody's pointing to poverty. Ultimately, everybody's pointing to the fact that there is
the
not
poverty
enough.
we have in Nigeria today is also an artificial creation. It serves purposes. When people are poor, they lost their voices. Poverty takes away your voice. It takes away your reasoning. It takes away resistance. And it serves that purpose. if you are to sit down between 1999 and today, and you get the statistics and then the amount expended by government from the federal level to the local government level on poverty reduction, you begin to ask questions as to whether this poverty is the amount is channeled to increase poverty or to reduce it. Trillions. And nobody is saying that, look, let us come together. Why has this effort failed? Why is it not yielding results? What are the effects? What are the issues? How do we change the tide?
Again,
how do we arrest it? The moment you start speaking like this, they don't want to see you close to power. They don't want to see you close to government. You understand? People are having trillions in assets and cash in bank today.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, without having a farm, without having any skill. They are only criminally ingenious. And they are fortunate to be in government. That is all. And nobody is questioning them. They determine who gets what, who gets where, who becomes what. Because they have the resources. And they are still getting richer.
I want us to go back to politics. Elections are months away, no matter what INEC does in terms of changing the guideline or the timeline altogether. And then you're asking yourself, I wouldn't just obsessed, the political class now, with all of the rhetorics around who is compromising INEC, who is inducing voters ahead of the election. Why are we not looking at the issues? For example, power is still a big problem. The minister resigned not too long ago. We understand he has ambition to become governor in his Oyo state, home state of Oyo, which we understand again has been bungled now. The president has nominated, and of course he has appointed a new minister. It appears to be same old, same old, same old. We're not having that conversation. Look at mortality rate in Nigeria today. The numbers don't look good, right? Of course, the everyday issues of putting food on tables in households is still quite a challenge that is here with us. What do you think is the fundamental reason we are shifting away from those issues? Of course, insecurity, and then just having a banter amongst politicians instead.
It's a deliberate thing. The moment Nigerians get to know the figures, the real facts, there will be uprising. And that is why I'll give you a task as a journalist. Go to any...
Who do I send the invoice to?
Go to ask any government, as part of your investigative journalism, go to any ministry, government ministry, ask for statistics, ask for data they don't have.
Even when they do, evoking the Freedom of Information Act is still a problem.
Exactly. I passed through the process. I went to ministries, departments, and agencies seeking for data. I could not get the data because they believe they will only produce data that will be useful for a particular purpose. And it is not real. Sometimes when I look at the statistics churned out by the Bureau of National Bureau of Statistics, I just shake my head, knowing that, that is what is given them. But that is not true.
So you think the data coming out from the NBS is also questionable?
Yes, it's questionable.
Influenced by politicians?
Influenced by other interests, not necessarily. Some of these politicians, they are just there. They are just there. Some of them, yes, if any politician is accused of stealing 1 billion, there are people in the civil service who stole 20 billion.
They are just scapegoats.
Yes, they are just scapegoats because they are stupid, most of them. Sorry for the use of this word. Most of them, And if you ask, where is the 1 billion? It is not even there. He has given it out to people seeking for validation.
Perhaps for the next election.
Yes, or because he wants to be seen to be a generous man. But the civil servant will be living in a 2-bedroom flat and he is having 10 billion naira properties. He is waiting for the time he will retire. Or he will be buying promotions for himself until he gets to permanent secretary and retire. And then the next thing he will be contesting for governorship or Senate or House of Representatives or whatever. Or he will bribe his way to become a minister or something like that. And his knowledge of the system is what he will use against the system.
As an appointee
Yes,
or an elected
as an
officer?
appointee or an elected officer. He will make sure that he emasculates everybody. So, when we talk about politics and we talk about knowing facts and then using them as basis to elect, do we even have presidential debates anymore?
We had a few in 2020.
You just go to Chatham House. I met Dr. Alex Vines in London last year, and I challenged him. I said, "You are our problems. You invite our candidates to Chatham House to go and debate, and you look at the worst amongst them, and you promote them to be voted as leaders in Nigeria. That is what you do. Who knows, you are even sponsoring them." He said no. But that is just by the way. Nigerians are just voting their leaders on sentiments. And we don't even look at the capacity. And that is why religious leaders are involved, traditional leaders are involved, even, how do I put it, those who do not even believe in God. Their leaders will even come, atheists, they come up with their leadership and say that this is somebody that we are going to support. What has that got to do with you? What has that got to do with you? A religious leader coming out to say that we are not going to vote for this, we are going to vote for this. Is that your responsibility?
No factual reasons.
You understand? You are whipping emotions and sentiments to vote a leader. And any time leadership is chosen on sentiments and emotions, there will always be consequences. You don't run a nation based on sentiments, based on emotions. You need competence, you need capacity, you have to have understanding of the system itself. A lot of our leaders, if you call even a state, they will have to sit down and start thinking, where is this thing? They will just be looking at the name and then they will say, okay, the Ondo, okay, it is Yoruba state. Imo, okay, it is Igbo state. If you call Adamawa, they will say, okay, that is not.
Okay.
But aside that, they don't know anything anymore.
Okay, I want to, before we go, highlight the rising activists now we have in Nigeria, somehow who have a voice that a lot of Nigerians listen to, and they are willing to do what they say. We have a lot of them. Most of them start out fantastically. I feel like a lot of them get distracted when they see that indeed, there's so much in Nigeria. When they start to get support from, these guys that are willing to push in monies, start to give them funds and all of that, it can get distracting. And at that point, they are bought over. At the point where they are bought over, Nigerians will not care. But because of the fact that they have been once a voice that they have listened to, their loyalty is sold out to them and they can influence whatever they say. I feel like Nigerians are at the mercy of social media activists right now when it comes to elections, decisions, and all of that, and the influence. I would like you to, talk a bit about to Nigerians, especially those that are quite vulnerable to the set of people, and maybe even encourage the well-meaning activists.
Well, activism is something that is very, very serious. It requires an intellectual. It requires a dogged fighter. It requires perseverance. It requires resilience, persistence, focus, commitment, dedication. It is capital intensive. You move people, you move resources, you champion causes. The challenge is, at the end of the day, you get fatigued because you cannot be on your job and be an activist, persistent. Now, you become, you start sourcing for associates, funding, accountability becomes an issue. And the very day you fail in the accountability process, you become a pawn. Those who are funding you, for fear of losing your face, you must dance to their tune. And in Nigeria, most of them, those who are funding activists are those in government, directly or indirectly. So, some of these activists, they lose their voices, they cannot raise their voices because they have failed in the accountability aspect of their stand. Now, some of these activists actually, they will tell you that, okay, we don't even want you to come out and support the government. Continue in your activism. Distract certain people from the activities of government. Keep them perpetually engaged that they don't see certain things. Or let it also be that there is an opposition to the government. When we are not going to arrest you, we are not going to do anything, you have your field day, you say whatever you want to say, and you are going to be our reference point of freedom of association. Being a responsible democratic government that gives breathing space to those in the opposition. Some of them, that is what they do. We can't rule that away. And in every segment, you will find such in Nigeria today. Our leaders have perfected strategy or strategies to deflect, control, suppress, without seeing their hands or their signature. It is quite unfortunate, but that is our reality. So Nigerians must know that every one of us, our destinies are in our hands. So long as we continue to keep quiet or believe that the system will change without making effort to change it directly, it will never change. And the peace that seemingly we are having as individuals, in the course of time, it will turn to ashes in our mouths. And there will be nobody to commiserate with us because everybody is involved. When the insurgency started in the Northeast, people thought it was going to remain there. It has taken over the whole of the North. At a point in time, the Southeast, every Monday, you must stay at home.
Right.
I wonder why somebody will ask you to stay at home
on a Monday,
when there is no worship. And you are business people. You must go out to make sales.
Right.
And somebody is asking you to stay at home and you are seeing him as a champion. You get my point.
I think that conversation itself is going to be very, very extensive, but time will fail us to go any further than this. But we'd like to say a big thank you. Barrister Sunday Wugira, apparently a lawyer, a politician, and a public affairs commentator who has come to share his thoughts with us this morning on the program. Well, that's Global Morning for today. Remember, as always, that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I am Uji Agmofugbe.
And I am Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a happy summer celebration.